Hello, hello.
Check.
I usually turn the rotating beacon on before I start up. It's not on the checklist, but that's a good alert to people nearby you that you're going to start the airplane.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Good. We're just hanging around the airport today, right? Are we going down to Martin or anything?
Yeah, we're just going to go out to the practice area.
Okay. Mind holding those brakes for a second? I've got to...
Yeah, got it.
I got to move my seat up a little bit. Yeah, that's better.
All right.
All right, I think we're good. I got it.
You got the airplane?
I got the airplane, yep. Alright. Parking brakes are not set, that's good. Cabin doors are closed.
Closed.
Flight controls free and correct. Free and correct. Put the flight instruments here. Yeah.
Nice high pressure system.
Yeah. Fuel shutoffs on, good. Your forage. Trim. Positive suction, positive amps. Actually, that suction is up higher than normal. Is that normal on cold days?
Yeah, it'll come down a little bit when you bring the power back.
Okay.
That's normal, as long as it's in the green. I mean, a little high is probably better than a little low.
yeah, right. Okay. Alright. Set for alt. Flashing beacons on. Lights, strobe lights are on. Okay.
All
We're
right.
good.
Not much wind blowing. But we got geese.
On the landing strip, you see them?
I saw some geese this morning on my way over here. I just know that this time of year, you have to be a little bit observant. I've seen them out on the runway. They're just sitting out there, hanging out.
There was a cat that ran across this morning when I was coming across.
Really?
Yeah. Boston traffic, Cessna 48753 is back taxiing to runway 22, Boston. Save a little gas and use 22 since there's no wind.
Yeah.
You want me to go ahead and do my landings first, or?
We'll go out to the practice area and do some hood work.
Okay.
Then we'll come in, we'll finish up here.
Takeoff checks. Boston traffic, Cessna 753 is departing runway 22, Boston.
When you went down to Martin, did you put your landing light on down there?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need it here today, but
At least I think I did. I should double check that.
it's not critical, but it's just, you should use the landing light normally. We don't use it when there's nobody around just because it's of no value, but from a training standpoint, you probably should use it every time. You know? That way you build a consistent habit. Yeah, when it's cold like this, the airplane really performs, you know?
Yeah.
Climbing at 700 or 800 feet a minute. On a hot day, we might get, 500.
Yeah, we're getting 700 now. It's doing pretty well.
Yeah. It's a little hazy out, not too terrible.
Starting to rain a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, it is. Well, we'll have to keep our eye out, make sure the weather doesn't deteriorate before we get back.
Yep.
Information, Lima 1354, observation. Wind 060 at 3. Visibility is 10, ceiling 3,400 overcast. Temperature 4, dew point 2, altimeter 3065.
Good,
Visual approach, runway 33 in use. Caution, possible bird activity on any other runway. Advise on initial contact, you have information, Lima.
All right, so what's the outside air temperature saying?
It's kind of foggy. Looks like it's about 15 Celsius.
Okay. Probably not 15 Celsius. That seems a little high.
20, 40, 10 Celsius, you're right. Yep.
Okay. So suppose we're out here and we're starting to get some precip, and it's 2 Celsius.
Yeah, well, that's
Or
a
1
big deal,
Celsius.
yeah. We don't have any
We don't have pitot heat. We don't have anything in this airplane, so we got to be mindful of that. All right, let's climb to 2,000 and left turn to 090. And when you get level at that heading and altitude, we'll put the hood on.
Okay.
The last time we probably just did pretty much straight and level and turns and climbs and descents.
Right.
We'll start off with that, and then we'll start adding some things to give you more to do, You sort of build up your scan so that you can add more things as you get more comfortable with your scan. And the design of the hood work for a primary pilot is just enough that if you flew into a cloud, you'd have the capability of, turning around and getting back to VFR conditions.
Okay.
You wouldn't spiral it in. But it's bare minimum. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead and put the hood on. I got the airplane. Now, when you fly instruments, it's very important that the airplane is trimmed. You'll find that that works a lot better for you.
Only my left speaker is working.
Nah. Well, I probably have that monaural plug in there, and maybe that's the problem. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you out the left ear, yeah. The
Yeah.
right one's not working.
All right. Well, we'll just live with it for now.
Okay.
All right. Just want to get your scan going. Remember, we start with the attitude indicator. That's our sort of anchor. And
Right.
we scan, cross-checking back to there, make sure that the altitude stays the same. Then we're back there, cross-check with our heading. We haven't moved, and the turn coordinator says we're not turning. That means we're still straight and level. Vertical speed is 0, so we're staying level. And, these are information where you are, the turn coordinator and the vertical speed are trend. So if the vertical speed is showing a climb, in a little while, your altitude's going to start changing.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's see. Give me a left turn to 360. It's clear left. Anytime you make turns, we do them standard rate. So look at the little wingtip on the airplane in the turn coordinator. That should be at the L or the R. And as you roll into the turn, you need a little back pressure. So look at the attitude indicator, that little orange dot should stay close to the horizon. And there's 360. Let's try to sneak it back up to 2,000. Just a little back pressure, get a little vertical speed in there. In the instrument world, we use the term small corrections. And what that means is we're trying to make corrections, but we don't do them big and fast. We do them gradually. And, you know, the key is to make sure that you never get the airplane in a steep angle of bank or a steep climb or descent when you're in the clouds. We want to keep things in a nice, tight little comfort zone.
I gotcha.
All right, left to 270. It's clear left. Now you notice the orange dot's a little above the horizon now, and you see how we're climbing?
Yep.
Now notice it's a little below, so a little bit of back pressure to compensate. There you go. The trick to being good at instrument flying is not only detecting things are out of whack, but detecting the trend. So when you first made the turn, the nose dropped a little on you.
Right.
We notice that, we make an adjustment. Once you make the adjustment, though, you've got to be careful you don't make the adjustment too far the other way, because then we started a slight climb. So then we relax the back pressure. So again, before the altitude makes a big change, that's why we take a look at the vertical speed, right? Now we're in a turn, we're looking for 270 on the heading. And you'll notice the dot's about 5 degrees above the horizon. Do you see that?
Yep.
So that means we're going to be climbing, and sure enough, the vertical speed is showing that we are. There's 270. Let's go ahead and level the wings now. And if you keep the wings level, and you keep that orange dot fairly close to the horizon, then you're not going to turn or climb or descend.
Okay.
But you can't depend on that solely, because that's a pretty coarse instrument, so you still have to cross-check against your other ones.
Right, yep.
And later on, that'll become more important when we do partial panel, simulating as vacuum failure. All right, let's climb to 2,500. We do full power, and probably about 7 or 8 degrees, maybe almost 10 degrees nose up. So put the little orange dot on the 10 there. Do you see that? That little black bar.
Where it says 10?
10. Yep. That's 10 degree pitch up. And you'll notice our vertical speed is reflecting that.
Yep.
We're showing a little bit of a turn to the left, and so we've lost our heading just a tad. When we get to 2,500, we'll bring the power back to our cruise power. You can set that by sound, and then you put your orange dot back on the horizon. Sounds like a good setting right there. And let's get back to 270 on the heading. You got the orange dot a little above the horizon there. And let's set the power for cruise power. That's good right there. Get to know that sound after a while. And let's go ahead and give me some carb heat. And let's descend down to 2,000. So power to 1,500. Hold the nose up close to the horizon. Don't want to have a rated descent more than 500 feet a minute. Remember, we do everything nice and gradual. If you hold the nose just about on the horizon there, see that? That'll get you just about 500. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah. You said down to 2,000?
2,000.
Is it okay to trim here, or you don't want me to not trim?
You can. If you need it.
It's on me a little bit here.
When we get to 2,000, we'll turn carb heat off and go back to our normal cruise. Okay, that's good. Power to cruise setting. Watch your heading. Get your wings level. See how we're still turning?
Yep.
All right, we're clear right. Give me a right turn to 090, standard rate.
Oops, 2090.
Yeah, that's right. Keep going. 090.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
All right, heading east. Watch your rate. Your turn's a little steep. If you get the ball too, you got to get a little right rudder in there so that the ball's in the middle. There you go. Feel that?
Yep.
Much better. Very important that when you fly instruments, you fly precisely. Particularly watching your airspeeds, making sure you're in coordinated turns. We would never want to inadvertently get into a stall or spin under the hood. That would be difficult to recover from. A little steeper angle of bank. Not pitch, angle of bank. Yeah, not quite on a standard rate turn. We're right there. That's it. All right. Roll out on the heading of 090. And let's climb to 2,500. Remember, the pitch up is about 10 degrees initially. All right, I want you to dial in the Westminster VOR. The frequency is 117.9. I'll give you that.
Oh, shoot.
There you go. Now, while you're over here, you can't afford to be over here more than a second or two. Then you got to come back and check against here. Then we come back and we keep dial another couple of digits. All right, then we're back over here. Okay, lost our heading a little bit, all right. Now we're back over to here, 117.9. All right, and we'll go ahead and load it into the active. And let's see if if we're receiving it. So let's listen on nav 1.
42 Zulu. AirMet Sierra, update 2, valid until 1500 Zulu. IFR conditions for West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and coastal waters. Ceilings below 1,000, visibility below 3 miles, mist. AirNet Sierra, update 2, valid until 1500 Zulu. IFR conditions.
So that's the Westminster VOR, and that's what's called the HIWAS.
Okay.
It's essentially a weather broadcast for AirMets and SIGMETs. And they're basically saying there's some forecast for low ceilings and visibility, and that's we know is coming. So we've verified that, we've identified it. So let's go ahead and take me there.
Okay.
There you go.
I guess I'll go the other way.
No, we want to go 2. So when you get a 2 needle centered, that tells you the heading you need to fly. So what's the heading?
265
right. So
or
let's
something.
fly that heading. You're clear whichever direction you want to turn. So anytime you go over and start playing with a radio, you can't indulge yourself more than a second or 2 over here. And then you got to come back over here, cross-check. Everything's still good, then we're back over here. And after a while, you'll learn how to do that back and forth very proficiently. But if you stay over here for more than 2 or 3 seconds, by the time you've done that, everything over here is starting to go to hell.
I gotcha. Mm-hmm.
I notice we lost a little altitude there. Alright, you'll notice that the EMI VOR, according to the GPS, says that it's about 268. And we're flying 270, yet this is suggesting that heading's off. So what could be the cause of that?
Winds, I guess.
Wind could be. What else?
Magnetic variation, maybe? I don't know.
The directional gyro precesses over time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get the wings level right here. Just hold the wings level. And I'll tell you what the heading is on the compass. Right now the compass heading is about 270. So let's come to a left to about 260 maybe. Now you can't tell, if you didn't have the GPS, all you'd have is this. So you would fly 264, you see that?
Uh-huh.
And we'd hold that and see what happens to the needle. If the needle stays in the center, then that means we've got the correct wind correction in. If the needle starts moving left, that means the course is going to the left, so we turn more to the left, and vice versa if the needle goes to the right. And you can see now the heading you're flying is a lot more closely aligned with what the GPS is confirming. The other thing you'll notice that the GPS is rock solid, very accurate.
Uh-huh.
The VOR will vary a good bit more. You know, the needle will be going left and right
Okay.
a little bit, but you sort of have to wait for it a little bit to see what's going on.
Does it vary more as you get closer or farther away from it?
The closer you get, the more sensitive it is.
Oh, okay.
And why is that?
That's a radio signal. I guess it degrades over time?
Has nothing to do with... The further away you get, the more insensitive the radio is, but the less the needle moves. And the reason is, unlike the GPS, which always measures distances in miles, the VOR measures the angular distance.
Uh-huh.
So when you're in close, 1 degree or 10-degree change in relative bearing to the station is a big move in the needle. You know, that's a full deflection is 10 degrees. 10 degrees when you're in close is a short distance.
Uh-huh.
The further you get out, the bigger that distance is. So if you're within 5 miles of the station and you fly a mile, you're going to move by 20 or 30 degrees. You get that same distance when you're 30 miles from the station, and the needle's going to move just a little bit.
I gotcha.
Because it's the angular difference. So as you get in closer and closer to the station, the needle becomes more and more sensitive.
I gotcha. Okay.
But if you're flying the GPS, assuming that you're in en route mode, the sensitivity of the needle is the same, regardless of where you are, because it's not measuring angle, it's measuring miles.
Yep, that makes sense.
And the miles are the same. Now, as you start getting in closer to with your 30 nautical miles of the airport, it moves to the terminal sensitivity. So normally it's 4 miles, then it goes to 1 mile's full deflection either way. And then when you get into approach mode for when you're shooting instruments, then it's 0.3. So the sensitivity of the needle for GPS varies according to the mode that we're in, whether it's en route, terminal, or approach.
Okay. And it's always going to be on this line, or will it move up or down?
It's generally on this line.
Okay.
So right now, if we flew, I think it's 2 miles is full deflection, so the total would be 4. Or maybe it's 4 miles, I'm forgetting now. But it's less sensitive. If we were flying to KDMW, so let's go ahead and put in direct to an airport. So this is Westminster we're going to put in. And Westminster Airport is not the same as Westminster VOR. They're different. You see the VOR is about 5 or 6 miles from the field. But look, all of a sudden, I'm within 30 miles. Now I'm showing terminal.
Okay.
So the sensitivity now, if you were 1 mile off course, that's full-scale deflection.
Huh, okay.
And the reason the box does that is, as you're flying to the airport, when you're en route, you know, a couple miles off, it doesn't matter so much. But as you start getting closer to the airport, it starts giving you more and more sensitivity to make it more accurate.
Okay, yep.
But it's not a function of the angle variation. It's strictly the miles. That's all the GPS is measuring.
This is probably a little bit off topic, but as you get in close on instruments, you said it gets down to 0.3 miles is the most accurate that it gets, right?
Right.
That's not enough to land an airplane? I mean, you can, a third of a mile is quite a bit. I mean, you could be way off the runway.
What I mean by the 0.3, I mean that the difference between the needle in the middle and the needle full scale.
Oh, okay,
is
I got you.
0.3.
I thought you meant between each dot.
No.
Okay.
So, and yes, that's plenty sensitive enough. If you're flying the needle and you're keeping it in the middle on an approach, that's plenty sensitive. It'll get you right down to the runway. We'll go out at some point and, you know, do a little bit of that, but it's really, for this part of the curriculum, really not
right.
needed.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's kind of off topic. I was just curious.
All right, I want you to dial in I want you to take me to Whiskey 42.
Okay. I'm in here.
Remember, you can't focus on the radio very long. All right, now that you hit the wrong button there.
Okay.
Start out by hitting direct. Now dial in Whiskey 42. Now hit the enter, and then one more time. So go back to the big knob, go back to the nav menu. So we're in nav menu. No, go back to the nav menu, and we're in the first page of the nav. You want to go to the second page. There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you're going to use the CDI, you have to tell it you want to now navigate by GPS, right? We're currently navigating by VLOC. Ah, there we go. So now the needle will tell you, and it says GPS. There's the course. The course is direct course is 117. So we need to turn to a heading of 117. It's clear right.
Want to go to the right or to the left?
Your choice.
I'll go left.
All right, it's clear left. Now, we were supposed to be at 2,500 feet. We've
Oh my goodness,
in the process of doing all that. So give me some carb heat and bring the power to 1,500. Start a descent while you continue the turn. So, by me giving you these other things to do, it makes it harder to fly instruments.
Sure, yep.
Because you're not just concentrating, and that's the whole point. If I just let you fly around all day long just looking at the instruments and making simple turns,
yeah,
you know, you can do that after a short time. What we need to do is teach you to have your scan in good shape so you can add other things and still have your scan in good shape.
I gotcha, yep.
So that's what we're doing. Telling you to set this to 117. Now let's go to 2,000.
All the way down to 2,000?
2,000.
Okay. About 1.7 there.
Yeah, that's 107.
Oh.
Box is asking you for 117. That's almost 120, right? And of course, that's assuming no wind.
Yeah, right.
Probably got some wind. Probably a southerly wind, I don't know, maybe a southwesterly wind. So let's suppose we're cruising along, it's 2,000 feet, and we just flew into a cloud.
Okay.
What would we do?
Well, hopefully you wouldn't be dumb enough to fly into a cloud, right? But
Well,
if you did, you didn't have any choice, I guess the best option would be do a 180 and head back to where you were just in VFR conditions?
Yes, that's right. Let's turn the carb heat off, but hold on. Let's talk about it a little bit more before we do it. So in the real world, if you flew into that cloud, all of a sudden it would turn white.
Uh-huh.
And you've been flying along visually, and now all of a sudden, for a very brief time, you're going to have to be on the instruments.
Sure, uh-huh.
So that the challenge is to have the discipline to not keep looking out the window, hoping you're going to see. Because if you do that, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start going like this. Okay, so the hardest part about this is not flying into the cloud. The hardest part is having the discipline to say, okay, I've got to fly on the instruments now, and I got to believe the instruments, and I can't let myself be so focused on trying to see outside the plane.
Gotcha.
All right, once I've established that, now we go ahead and start to make the turn. So let's go ahead and plan that. Let's plan a turn, a 180-degree turn.
Okay.
Okay? Clear left. Let's make it to the left.
All right, we're at 120 right now, so I want to go to 300 degrees.
All right. And we do it standard rate. Nice and gentle. But we're not looking outside the plane. We're in here.
Sure.
And we stay in here until we get on our heading. Keep in mind, you flew into the cloud, and you're now flying further into the cloud as you're making the turn. So when you get around to your heading, you're not going to pop out the other side right away. It's going to take you maybe 30 seconds or a minute before you actually would come out the other side.
Yep, that makes sense.
So you got to be a little patient. What was the heading we wanted?
30.
Right. 300.
Right, 300.
The key to this maneuver is keep your angle of bank shallow and hold your heading, hold your altitude. We don't want to go into the ground.
Right.
Okay, there's 30. All right, so we wait now. And we hope that we fly out the other side. Now, after you've been on the instruments, now I'd be trying to look outside.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be staring outside. I'd take a look. We're still in the clouds. I'm back here. Give it another 10 seconds. Okay, up. I can see I'm starting to kind of break out a little bit now. Okay. So we've just broken out. We're not going to get back to Fallston, it doesn't look like. So what do we do?
What do you mean we're not going to make it back to Fallston? Should we change?
Well, I'm saying in this simulation, we've flown into the cloud. We're trying to get home, and it doesn't look like the conditions at home are going to allow me to get there VFR. So what do we do?
We got to find another airport to land at.
We do.
I guess the next best thing to do would be, I guess check some of the nearest airports around.
There we go. So how would I get to the nearest menu?
I think it's farthest to the right, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, that was it. Keep going all the way to the right. Yeah, we're on the nearest VOR. I'd played with it before. If I hadn't played with it, this is what would have popped up. So what's the nearest airport?
5MD1, whatever that is.
Right. It says it's got a 1,200-foot runway.
That's probably
This one's 5,000 feet, and it's a couple more miles away.
Yeah, so it's probably got lights and all that stuff as well.
Yeah, might be a better choice. That's Westminster. How would we know if Westminster is
VFR?
Is VFR?
I guess we'd have to listen to ATIS or...
Yeah, we would. So we would go down and highlight, hit enter, and then that takes me to the waypoint. And if I go like this, there's the AWAS.
1452 Zulu, weather, wind 140 at 4, visibility 10, ceiling 2,400, overcast, temperature 2 Celsius, dew point -1, altimeter 3060.
So in the real world, I've done a lot of things. But if you're flying along and you're stressed and
automated weather
remembering to do all of that isn't going to be that easy.
3 Zulu, weather, wind 140 at 4.
So take me back to Fallston. I've got it programmed in to go direct.
Okay.
So give me a right turn, take me to Fallston. So the point of that exercise is you'd have to use a lot of brain power. But if you're proficient with the radio, knowing how to go to nearest, find an airport, go to the waypoint page, find the ATIS, listen for it, and then head that way. That might be the best option. Now the problem else is you start heading that way and you start flying into a cloud, right?
You're right.
So you might have to descend. So the other thing is you'd want to know before you left on the trip and you've made your plan, what is the terrain like where we are and how high do I have to be safe?
Sure, yep.
Right. So let's suppose that we did that and instead of being 2,400 and 10 miles visibility, they're 800 overcast and a half a mile in light rain. That's not going to work.
Right, exactly.
Again, big picture, we were flying from Lancaster back to Whiskey 42. The weather from the west and the south starting to close in, but where I just came from was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
So maybe the better option would be to do a 180 and head back to Lancaster.
Gotcha, uh-huh.
In the worst case scenario, the whole thing's closing in on you. And there's no way you're going to get to an airport. The worst thing you'd ever want to do would be fly into a cloud and not see the ground.
Gotcha, uh-huh. Because then you don't know where you are at all.
Yeah. So, if you're flying along and say, you know, it doesn't look like I'm going to get to an airport, but there's a nice big field right over here that looks like it's well manicured. I'm in VFR conditions, and I can safely make it in there. That might be your best option.
Really? Okay.
Not great. I'm not saying it's great. But hopefully what we would have done is we would have never put ourselves in that position in the first place.
Sure, right.
But I'm just trying to get you to think about why do we do this exercise here? It's to prepare you as a private pilot for the possible inadvertent encounter with IMC. Now there's another thing we could do is we could try to talk to somebody.
Okay, uh-huh.
In a normal trip, I would want you to be talking to ATC doing flight following.
Okay, right.
And the reason is because then you'd have somebody, let's say we were talking to Potomac Approach and we're heading to Whiskey 42. And you're cruising along at 2,500 feet and we fly into a cloud, inadvertent.
Uh-huh.
You know, at that point, I'd be confessing. I'd be saying, Potomac Approach, this is 753. Looks like we've inadvertently encountered IMC condition, like a 180 back to Lancaster, and they'd work with you. They might also be able to tell you, based on the information they have, where the nearest VFR airport is.
Okay,
and
yeah.
that could be helpful. The problem is, doing all that, while you've just flown into a cloud, and you haven't done that ever in your life, you're going to be under a lot of stress, and it's going to be hard to fly the airplane and do all that other stuff.
Sure, uh-huh.
I'm just trying to give you realistic scenarios of things that might really happen.
Right, yep, yep.
Yeah, we're not going to send you off on any trip unless the weather is uber clear.
Right.
We're not going to put you... But as you get more experience and you're now a private pilot, you're going to start wanting to go places and you're going to start having to make decisions about not ideal conditions. They're going to be maybe a little more marginal. But when you make the trip plan, you think about what are my outs? Where are my alternatives that I can get to? And, you know, worst case scenario is you've landed the thing in the field somewhere, you take out your cell phone, you call somebody and say, hey, I ran into bad weather and I put it down in the field here. It looks like I'm going to have to leave it parked here till the weather improves, but I think we'll be able to get out of here. Just, you know, live with it.
Okay. Has that ever happened in the club history? I'm assuming not.
We had a fly-in one time to, I don't know, it was Lancaster or someplace, and I think Dick got stuck in bad weather getting back, and he ended up having to land it at another airport.
Really? Okay. But not landing in a field, I guess, is what I was asking.
No,
okay.
I don't think so. But again, if you have if you have no way to get to an airport, I am a VMC, visual meteorological conditions, but you're visual right now, and you're over this beautiful, nice, perfect field that looks great, and you have to make a choice, do I land here and wait it out or take a chance on flying into bad weather and having to fly an instrument. Now, if you're instrument rated and you know you have an airplane that's capable, that's a whole nother matter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but when I went to go take my written exam, I met one of your instrument students there.
Oh, Tom Repnicki?
Yeah. That's him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice
he's
guy.
the dancing guy. He's a character.
Yeah, he said he has a Cardinal as well.
Oh, maybe that was Scott Phillips.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
he was
Yep.
taking his instrument written, maybe.
He might have been. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed. Yeah, he's got a fixed gear Cardinal down at Martin. I've been flying with him. Good guy, lawyer.
Seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, real nice guy. He's doing well. He's we haven't flown for a little while. I think he's we got to get back together and finish him up. He's done the written now, and we've done his long cross country. We've accomplished most of the requirements. We just got to get his 40 hours and get him polished up, and then do the oral prep for the check ride.
Okay.
My guess is after the first of the year he'll want to get back flying. They just had some work done on their airplane. They got a new interior put in.
Oh, okay, nice.
But he's got some issues with his radio stack, and I keep telling him he's going to have to bite the bullet and get a GPS that's IFR certified so he can take the check ride, because I think the examiner's not going to let him fly GPS approaches with a not approved GPS box.
Yeah.
And theoretically, you can get an instrument radio without a GPS. It just is harder.
Harder to do these days, I bet. Yeah.
And I'm guessing that most of the examiners are going to be unhappy with that because, you know, hey, watch your heading. You're kind of doing what I call S-turns. Do you see that? So let's try to pick a heading that we think will be the one we want, and then let's try to hold that heading.
All right. All right, let's try about 122.
Okay, that looks pretty good. So if we don't want to have our heading change, keep the wings level.
Right. Yeah, starting to follow the GPS as opposed to following my gauges.
Right. Well, that's a good point. So the GPS, you know, if the magenta line is straight up and down and the needle's in the middle, this is what you're flying, not this.
Oh, okay.
This is where you are. That's what you want. This is trend. So if the magenta line is this way or that way, after a while, the needle's going to start moving.
I gotcha.
But you don't want to really fly this. You still want to be on the gauges. You want to fly your attitude and your heading, and then you cross-check it against that. But you're still over here primarily. And you'll notice now you're not going back and forth.
Yep.
That was good. Good that you observed what was going on there. False traffic, system 48753, 10 northwest inbound landing false. All right, so we'll get back to the airport and we'll take the hood off and we'll do 3 landings and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
You're flying along, it's IMC, and the engine quits.
That's a big problem.
Okay, so let's think about it. What's the last thing you want to happen?
Well, you definitely don't want to lose your airspeed. So
we don't want to stall, right?
Right.
So the first thing we would do, anytime the engine quits, what's the first thing we do?
Trim for 60.
Trim for 60. And I'd put carb heat on right away.
Okay.
Just because if the engine quits, especially on a day like today, it's humid out, it's cold, so we could have ice.
Gotcha.
But, okay, the second thing then would be, if I'm talking to ATC, I'd let them know. Potomac approach 753, just lost the engine. We're setting up a glide, we're IMC. And they may come back and say, what are your intentions? Now, you know, you're 3,000 feet, you don't have a whole lot of choices, right?
Right.
We don't know what the weather conditions are below us, but we've just looked at near us and we're nowhere near. Okay, we're getting off on our heading quite a bit.
Yep.
We're nowhere near an airport. So, which way the surface wind's blowing?
Today they were variable, light and variable, so.
Right, but let's say the surface winds were southerly.
Okay, so I'd want to point the airplane south.
I would probably point it south, and I would establish that 60 knot descent, and I would hold that and wait till I break out.
And then once you break out, you got to find a field real
At
fast.
that point, you're going to make a decision, right? We're not going to make steep turns. When we break out at 800 feet above the ground,
Right.
we're going to have very limited choices, but we will make the best decision we have. But the key is, at that point, we'd be dumping all the flaps and get that thing slowed down to 54 or 50, as slow as we could get it comfortably slowed down to with all the flaps out. And if we got to mush it into a field and crash or into the top of the trees, at least we'll do it in a controlled fashion.
Right.
Get my seat belts tight, turn the fuel off. We get ourselves set up. But the reality is, you might never break out
Yeah, that's
until
scary.
you hit the ground.
Yeah, wow.
But if that happened, you'd walk away from it. I'm absolutely convinced. If you kept it under control and got it slowed down to the point where you're at, slow flight speeds, but you're still under control, right? We're slowing it to 54 is what we use for short field landings, right?
Sure, yep.
But let's say we could slow it to 50 with full flaps out, and we're just waiting now till we get to the ground.
Okay.
But we do it in a controlled fashion.
Okay.
All right, the GPS course says the course is to the left, so let's turn 10 degrees to the left, maybe 15 degrees, and let's hold that heading. Don't fly the magenta line, hold the heading. Maybe another 5 degrees left.
Okay, 120.
Call it 115. That's 120, I want 115.
Okay. I didn't hear that last part, sorry.
Yeah, 115. And let's just hold that now. Don't pay any attention to the magenta line. We're just holding our heading, keep our heading, and then let's see if the needle starts to move it.
Yep, it's coming over.
Still wavering a bit. Try to keep your wings level. Want to be able to hold that heading rock solid. So we talked about wake turbulence and, going in to land in a big field with a big airplane.
Right, uh-huh.
Have we talked about that at all?
Yeah, where you should land beyond where they touch down.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we talked at all about wind shear.
We have a little bit where, higher altitude means usually higher winds, and it slows down as the friction of the earth slows it down towards the ground.
Right. As you get down, as you're descending to land with wind shear, you have to be ready in the event that the wind drops off very quickly for a brief time, you'll lose your airspeed.
Right.
These are some of the things that, and collision avoidance, we spend a lot of time talking about. These are things you would have to be prepared for when you're going across country.
Sure.
All right, I've got the airplane. You take the hood off.
Okay. Oh, that's much better.
Okay, there's the airport right there. We're going to enter the crosswind for 22. I want you to land the plane.
Okay. False traffic Cessna 753 is entering the left downwind for runway 22 on the 45 false.
No, you're not. 22 left downwind is over there. You're going to enter the left crosswind for 22. If you were coming in on a 45, you'd be coming from Martin back the other way. So give me some carb heat, and let's descend down to pattern altitude. The runway is this way, right? And we're gonna land 22 that direction. So if we're down the far end, that's the crosswind, and then we'll turn downwind.
I gotcha.
You with me? So this be a realistic scenario. We just broke out of the clouds.
I'm totally disoriented.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a hard thing. So you got to start thinking, okay, where's the airport? What's my heading? My heading is 130. So I'm not looking down the runway. But if that's 130, then 22 would be going that way. And 1 and 4 would be going that way.
Okay.
This is part of the reason why we do this, is to teach you how to figure out when you're disoriented. How do I get oriented? Well, let's start with what we know. We know that's an airport there.
Yep.
Look at the runway. Look at the numbers on the runway. That can help you get yourself oriented. See how that correlates to your heading. So this will be crosswind, and then we'll get the other side, we'll turn downwind. All right, there's your pattern altitude.
Boston traffic, Cessna 753 is entering left crosswind, runway 4, Boston.
Now you're on the left crosswind for 22. Right now we're on the left base.
Goodness.
We're on the
so
left,
lost.
We're on the left base for 4.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But this is the crosswind for 22. Give me some power because you're going below your pattern altitude. There you go, 2250, cruise setting. There's the runway there.
Okay, I've got my bearings now.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Why don't you give us a landing light too, given that the visibility is marginal. Picking up some rain here. The other thing you can do is, when you're going direct there, put in the inbound heading for the runway and hit OBS, and then that'll put that line out there for you.
Yeah.
Which you can use as another source of orientation. All right, landing checks. Okay, tell them we're left downwind.
False traffic, Cessna 753 is left downwind, runway 22, false.
Okay. Now, we know where we are. Your brain should be thinking only one thing, land the plane.
Right.
So get in your landing mode.
Boston traffic, Cessna 753 is turning left base, runway 22, Boston. And
All right. Back to the center line. Keep your speed under control, getting a little fast. The rest of the flaps. Little right rudder, little left aileron. Right rudder, little left aileron. See how I pushed the rudder there just a little bit? Because we just a little bit of wind blowing from that side. Just enough. Push that rudder just enough and then tilt the wing, straightens right out. Perfect. All right, let's go do another one.
all right.
Little disorienting there, huh?
Yeah. I was completely lost. I'm like, I can see the bay there. I know which way I should be going, but in my head I couldn't straighten it out. False traffic, Cessna 753 is back taxiing, runway 22, false.
Part of that disorientation is the fact that we had just come out from under the hood. So your brain has to make a shift now from flying here to flying here. Second thing is, it's normal when you come into a field and you just broke out of the hood, you haven't been visually looking at the terrain and getting your bearings, so you got to do that in a hurry. It won't be a problem when you do your trips because you'll have plenty of time thinking about, here's Millville coming up and I know where the runways, you know.
Yep.
All right, let's do a short field takeoff.
Okay.
Turn off your carb heat. Want 10 degrees of flaps. All right.
Next. False traffic, Cessna 753 is departing runway 22, close traffic, false.
All right, hold the brakes, power to full. All right, power looks good, release. We'll rotate at 54, climb out at 54, so we'll clear all the obstacles and then accelerate to 65. Hold the nose up, pull it up, pull it up. Right there. It was pretty quick, doesn't it?
It does.
All right, now we're past our obstacles, push the nose forward and accelerate to 65. And we got clear the obstacles, we got a positive rate. Okay, we can take the flaps.
Checks. False traffic, Cessna 753 is left downwind, runway 22, false. Yeah, there is a pretty stiff wind coming out from the right side.
All right, all right. So remember, when we came in and flared, in order to hold the heading down the runway, we had the nose pointed to the left a little bit. So we were crabbing, that was good. When you get in close to the ground, then you got to push the rudder to nose it, straighten it out. And as soon as you do that, you got to dip that wind just a little bit.
Touch down that upwind.
Right.
Lap speed.
Part of the reason why you flew past the center line the last time was because when you turn base, you got a wind behind you. So we got to plan for that a little bit.
Falls in traffic, Cessna 753 is left base, runway 22, Falls. Yeah, now we're doing a little better.
Yeah.
Falls in traffic, Cessna 753 is final, runway 22, Falls.
Right rudder, push the rudder. There it is. Perfect. See how nicely that straightened you out? And you can't just put pressure in this when you're down low and slow like that. You really have to physically move the rudder because your controls have lost effectiveness as we're going so slow. That was a good job.
I think this is the windiest I've been on here landing.
Yeah. The winds aloft are stronger. So as you get down closer to the ground, it abates a little bit. The other thing was I thought you were a little high out there.
I was,
yeah. Should have come back on the power a little sooner, but we're fine. Now let's do one more.
Okay.
This is good that we're getting some crosswind practice. That's great. But just remember, when you're in the flare, your initial flare, you still got your crab in. Once you're ready to touch down, though, you've got to move that rudder, and it has to be a physical movement. It can't just be pressure. And then once you do that, the nose comes around, then just dip that wing.
Okay.
We'll do a normal takeoff this time.
Okay. Falls traffic, Cessna 753 is departing runway 22, close traffic, Falls.
Little left aileron. If you have a crosswind, just a little left aileron. There you go. Lift off that right wheel first. Perfect. Perfect. Excellent job. Absolutely perfect. Perfect. Must have had a good instructor.
That's what they say, I don't know.
Now this is the what we're doing right now. Getting this comfort level with the rudder control and all. This is probably the hardest thing to teach and the hardest to master is adding that third dimension.
Yeah.
But if you get to the point where you're proficient at it, boy, it makes all the difference in the world. There's so many people out there that fly don't have that skill. It's a shame. And I'm a bit of a stickler for it, partly because I fly tail draggers. You know?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And the examiner I send you to, he just thinks that's wonderful.
What, having the extra rudder skills?
Having that, yeah, doing slips and, showing how to actually fly the plane, using all three of the controls. He's a real stickler for that.
Oh, good, okay.
So he'll like that. He's always commented on that with all my students. After a while, you'll do it, and it'll be subconscious. You won't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then that's when you've really got it. Then you become one with the airplane. Flying a little tighter.
You want to go in a little tighter?
Yeah, and the reason is we're going to pull the power this time and do a simulated engine out. I'll tell you when to pull the power. Just try not to fly over Plainfield Road. You know where that is?
Yeah.
There's a little row of houses that are out here off the end of the runway.
Okay.
And when we do simulated engine outs, you tend to want to go right over top of them. And
Okay.
they get nervous about that.
I gotcha.
See, just that row of houses right there?
Yep, I gotcha.
Okay. Just hold your power here just a little bit, and I'll tell you when to pull it. Okay, power to idle, trim for 60. And then make the landing. You make the decision when to turn. Don't get too far from the runway.
Okay.
Keep in mind, it comes down a little faster when we don't have any power.
There we go.
Once you know you got the runway made, then you can put flaps out and dump them all if you need to. Yeah, I'd dump them all right now. And we can slip it if we have to.
Yep, we're going to have to.
Now slip it the other way. The wind's coming from there. That's it. Turn the wheel to the left and full rudder. All the way in with the rudder. All the way in. Let the nose come down. See that? Now straighten her out. See how that worked?
Yep. Oh, we're way over speed here still.
Yeah, let her come down. Let her come down. Good job. Nice job. Remember when you do a slip, use full rudder and always slip it into the wind. That gives you more effectiveness. If you're going the other way, it'll tend to blow you really far away. And now you've got to work hard to get back to the runway. And full rudder, get the nose down, which you did nicely. I noticed that. And the reason is we're creating a lot of drag, right? So, and then just vary your angle of bank to keep you in line with the trajectory you want. But just leave that full rudder in.
Okay.
That's a good job. All right, we'll call it a day. We'll go up there and put some fuel in it, and I'll do the paperwork. And your next challenge will be to plan your cross country to Millville.
Okay.
We covered a lot today, but I think it was a really good lesson. Learned a lot about the scenarios and the thinking through what you would do if you flew into the clouds. And
yeah,
hopefully that was good for you.
Definitely, yeah.
I think we got about 7/10 under the hood today, so that was good.
Oh, good. Okay. 3 total, right?
3 hours total is the minimum, yeah. And I think that the key other thing you learned today is if you're going to fly instruments, you got to fly over here mostly.
Right. Yeah.
Fly your headings, fly your attitudes, and then cross-check with your nav. Don't fly the magenta line.
Right.
Looks good. All right. 1800 RPM for 30 seconds. Everything electrical off.